Ah.
Hmm.
Huh?
Hey.
What? Why?
Could it be? What? What?
Come on.
In other words...
Hey.
Ah!
What?
Is that right?
Shing!
Ah!
Indeed.
Let's go.
But...
Correct. That's right. Whew. So... However... Wrong. In other words...
Just a second!
Makoto. It would seem... Goodbye.
I can't wait! I can't wait! Thrills! Let's begin with a basic explanation of the class trial. So, your votes will determine the results. If you can figure out who done it, then only they will receive, and I'll punish everyone. Okay, well...
Well then, let's discuss first. We need to clarify.
It's Kyoko.
But Kyoko's standing right there.
No, that's a...
But...
Well, that's just... She's like the latest evolution.
There's a limit to how much
Okay. So then let's compare Kyoko's traits.
her trait?
I got it! I'm talking about her gloves.
In that case, I think it would be helpful if someone explained why she acted.
And would you happen to know the answer?
In fact, Monokuma told me. Apparently you have scars on your hands you don't want anyone to see.
Oh! You know,
They probably just got burnt. I'm not convinced. That Kyoko there is
Impossible.
okay. Then prove it.
Proof the dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves. Cause that corpse is absolutely
This entire discussion is idiotic.
that Kyoko there.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the.
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves. Cause that corpse is absolutely
This entire discussion is idiotic.
that Kyoko there.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it.
The dead body wasn't.
They got burnt up in the.
Then she was wearing gloves.
Well, yeah,
She must have been wearing gloves.
cause that corpse is absolutely Kyoko.
This entire discussion is idiotic.
That Kyoko.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well, yeah,
She must have been wearing gloves.
shoot. That Kyoko.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove
The
it.
dead body wasn't wearing.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well, yeah, she must have been wearing gloves. Cause that corpse is absolutely.
This entire discussion is idiotic.
That Kyoko there is just.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves.
Well,
Yeah, she must have been wearing gloves.
shoot. That Kyoko there.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well,
Yeah, she must have been wearing gloves.
shoot. That Kyoko there is just a ghost.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
Shoot. That Kyoko there is just a.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it. Prove she's not a ghost.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the explosion.
Well,
Yeah, she must have been wearing gloves.
shoot.
Is it? I refuse to give up yet.
That Kyoko there is just a ghost.
Impossible.
Okay, then prove it. Prove she's not a ghost.
The dead body wasn't wearing gloves.
They got burnt up in the explosion.
Then she was wearing gloves before the...
Well, yeah.
Yeah, she must have been wearing.
No, that's wrong. No. Whoever it was, they were wearing fake. I imagine trying to wear gloves over nails like that. Besides, Kyoko wears gloves. It'd be pretty weird for someone who's self-conscious about the.
Jeez, man, you don't know women, huh?
If anyone doesn't know women,
Well, Kyoko,
These gloves were custom made to the size of my hands to make sure they don't interfere with my daily life. If I wore fake nails,
Then that's that. The dead body doesn't belong to.
which should have been obvious since
Okay, so then, who's the real victim?
that's the first thing I said.
If Kyoko really is still alive, then who died?
there's gotta be some way to figure it out.
I don't think so. The face was scorched beyond recognition, and there wasn't any description in the Monokuma file.
Well, if we can't identify the body,
Then there's nothing else we can do, right? If Kyoko really... Then who died?
there's gotta be some.
I don't think so. The face was... and there wasn't any description in...
Well, if
We can't identify the body.
No, that's wrong. There was one clue left behind.
what?
If you're lying, you'll die.
A cruel enough.
She's just being stupid. Ignore.
The key to figuring out is the tattoo on the back.
Oh yeah.
Her master must have made her get it.
Seriously?
No, that's not it.
Oh, really?
I got it! The Fenrir Mercenary Corps.
Okay.
To show that they're a member of the team would get a tattoo representing
Fenrir?
Now I understand! The representation of.
Fenrir, the Wolf of Ragnarok. It's from Norse mythology. A huge world-ending. He's the child of the trickster god Loki.
Man, after all this time, we finally got a glimpse of the literary all-star.
A wolf tattoo.
Exactly. The body we found had a tattoo of a wolf, which means that person must have. So it must have.
What?
Hold on. Is
Yes, indeed. The trial this time is to solve the murder.
What? Are you saying the mastermind is dead?
No. It means we were wrong.
But I mean, being the ultimate despair seems.
Maybe we shouldn't have been thinking of her. After all, looking at her profile, all it said was that, if I remember correct, Kyoko.
So that means...
Then, who what? She's been gone this whole time? And when she finally.
Usually when there's a scene where an important character dies, it has a lot more
So you're saying she wasn't, which would mean she was the same as us.
Then who's the...
It must have been the Hope's Peak Academy.
no. The headmaster.
But how can we trust that? We already...
My information.
Okay. We're in the middle of a trial right now. Figuring out. Please limit all future prattle chat.
Fine. Uncovering, no matter what happens, we will find out who you...
I have officially decided to Now then, just so nobody's confused, the reason we're having a class trial is hammer that point.
What you're saying is that both the victim and the culprit...
Then, one of.
Wait, no! There's a chance that there's some mystery 7...
Nope. There are only 6.
Seriously?
Who did it?
Get a hold of yourself. We've all.
Huh?
I'm sure you realize who I'm talking about.
I got it! You've narrowed it down.
Why do you say that?
Allow me to. Just after nighttime, that at that point, there. So, the murder must have. However, Hiro, Toko.
The gym?
That's right. The 4 of us were there the whole time. We were very careful, all of which is to say, the 4 of us
Are me and Makoto. That's why you're able to narrow down the
Exactly so. Are you thinking of raising?
Well, before that, doing that might reveal some kind of clue.
Whatever you want. Somebody go ahead and help him out.
Me and Byakuya can both confirm. Well, it was after night, so the murder must have happened.
Then I guess we can say the time for. Oh, but what time did we?
The one who saw the body first was Toko.
I got it! The body must have been discovered.
He's right.
So we can be totally sure the murder happens.
For me, I was already asleep before nighttime hit, but I'm sure I met up with everyone else before.
We ran into each other in the dining hall, right? Oh yeah, right around 7:30.
Which means from 10 p.m. to...
We've established a time frame
For the murder.
It took place somewhere between
10 o'clock and
9 o'clock
in the morning. Yep.
And Makoto doesn't have an alibi for most of that.
Yeah, from 10 o'clock to 7:30.
That's more than enough time to commit.
Commit murder, I should. So
Makoto, if you have
any objections, now would be the time.
We've established a time frame for the murder.
It took place somewhere between 9 o'clock. Yep. And Makoto.
Yeah, from to 7:30.
Shoot!
We've established a time frame
For the murder. It took place somewhere between 9 o'clock.
Yep. And Makoto doesn't have an alibi for most...
Yeah, from
10 o'clock.
to 7:30.
Shoot!
We've established a time frame for the murder. It took place somewhere
Somewhere between 10 o'clock at night.
No, that's wrong! Actually, the murder couldn't have happened anywhere.
And what makes
Because of the sprinklers, and the sprinklers are set to go off. So if the body had been, then it should have been
Oh, hold on. I remember this part perfect. The body was wet.
Sorry, Toko.
I'm wrong? Are you saying only the mouth down south was wet? How dare—
No, I'm saying that the body was wet.
What do you mean by denying the spring?
Man.
If you really think it— you— I admit nothing. I hate you. No, no, no! I don't know anything! Hold on! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. I hate you. No, no, no! I don't know anything! Hold on! Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. Are you trying to blame me? I admit nothing. I hate you. No, no, no! I don't know anything! How can you say—
This should prove it. Just remember what the body was like after the explosion. The top half of the body was wet, yes. But the bottom half? If the sprinklers got the body wet...
So they only got the top wet?
I'm so sick of her.
Let's just... The reason only the top half was wet... While the body was still on fire,
Oh...
So if the sprinklers didn't get the body sometime after the sprinklers turned on at 7:30 in the morning.
Which means she must have been killed sometime between then and when.
But Makoto's alibi was only missing for...
So there's no way Makoto could have done it.
In which case, the only one.
I'd just like to say one thing. If you vote for me and I die here, which is why, I can't let that happen.
So are you
Of course I'm not. I have no This is a trap the master...
A trap?
We're this. Stop wasting time. Stop wasting it.
Shut up, you.
You got it, boss.
Anyway, Kyoko, you actually did.
Huh?
She thought Mukuro was the ultimate despair, so she killed her to try and put us. But you made one catastrophic, and as a result, we were forced into.
So...
If she had a motive and no alibi.
I'm not the only one without an alibi.
Huh?
The sprinklers didn't get the body wet, but that... Because you see,
Interesting.
all it would take is covering the body with...
I got it! You're talking about...
You catch on. You're right. All you'd have to do is, in fact, the dirt pattern on the tarp can... Only one side of the tarp got dirt. The side that faced down over the... This proves that the killer used the...
But why would they go to all that effort just to keep the body from getting...
Most likely so they could cloud the issue of when... In other words, to create an excuse...
Wait.
And what might that be? By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp was only dirty on is because the sprinkler got that side wet.
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side was protected from the water. Since it was facing down, of course it didn't get dirty.
By covering the body with the tarp, the killer prevented it from getting wet.
So the reason the tarp
Was only dirty on one side.
Shoot!
By covering the body
Body with the top, the killer prevented...
So the reason the tarp is because the sprinkler got...
But the underside of the tarp, it was totally spotless, right?
It's because that side
I was protected.
from the water. Since it was facing down, of course it didn't get
Dirty.
No, that's wrong. Actually, one... Because the blood wasn't dry before the body got blown up. Byakuya said it himself. If you put a tarp on a body and...
Well, maybe the culprit washed it.
If they had, they would have washed both.
Oh!
More than that, what if the very blood we saw on the body was meant as a kind of camouflage? What if, after the killer used the tarp to avoid the sprinkler, they then covered the body in blood?
You mean someone else?
I know! They could have grabbed some of the blood. That's what Hifumi did.
No, the killer got the blood from right...
I got it! Could it have been... chicken blood?
What? Chicken blood?
When I checked the chicken... But after the murder...
So, you're saying someone killed... Man!
Killing a living thing just to do something like that is awful.
I wonder if the killer had to get the blood from the seams. Anyway, there's no denying that a chicken went missing, which provides.
Perhaps, but even so, there's one. You said the culprit used the tarp to avoid the. But if that's the case, then the blood should have soaked into the ground around. But that's not what we saw. Only the ground was
I have to agree. Maybe they didn't apply the blood at the scene.
They covered it before.
When you discovered the body, was it wearing the coat like you normally would?
Wait. No. The head was through the neck hole, but the arms weren't in the sleeves.
Then that's.
Sorry, I'm having a tough time keeping up.
Here's what happened. But the body didn't get wet. Then, later, at the same time the killer was gathering up they pulled the coat over the body. The coat they'd already covered in blood. This series of cover-ups was meant to disguise the actual. They wanted us to think the murder happened sometime after the.
If that's actually what took place, it certainly becomes.
But wouldn't they have had to go back to the garden after the?
That actually wouldn't have been all that.
Huh?
They already had the coat ready. So they just had to grab the tarp and they'd be done.
Maybe.
Hina, after you met up with
Oh no. I headed off to the gym.
then he had plenty of time to. Don't bother saying it's not.
I must admit, Kyoko's reasoning. Well then, it looks Makoto's alibi is no good, so once again, our suspects are.
For serious, man? Hey, why don't we let luck decide? Let's.
Oh!
See?
No, not that.
Well, don't just stand there.
You know that knife we found?
The one we found stuck in the body. According to the Monokuma file, the knife went all the way through, from front to back. So?
I'm pretty sure I'd seen that knife somewhere, but that's what I thought when I first saw.
It's
You don't seem surprised.
Yeah.
Then why did you.
It's not that I hit.
Suspicious? The knife we found stuck in the. Now I'm totally convinced he did it!
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
it's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it?
If he did have that knife before, that seals it! Makoto!
Just because I had the knife once, that automatically makes me the.
Well, getting stabbed is what killed her. So there's no question. You took that knife of yours and killed her.
What a horrible man you are, Makoto.
The knife we found lodged in the dead body.
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid.
If he did have that knife before, then that seals it.
Just because I had the knife, that automatically makes...
Well,
Getting stabbed is what killed her, right?
so there's no question. You took that knife and...
What a horrible man you are, Makoto. The knife we found lodged in the...
It's the same one we gave to Makoto.
It really is, isn't it? I was afraid of that.
If he did have that knife before, then that seals it.
Just because I had the knife once, that automatic...
Well,
Getting stabbed is what killed.
No, that's wrong. Wait, hold on. That should be clear from the...
Lies!
No, the killer covered the dead body with the tarp. In other words, the victim never wore that...
Okay, fine.
So... the knife had been thrust through the coat. Meaning, if she wasn't stabbed in... obviously, the stab wound...
Maybe you stabbed her twice.
I got it! The Monokuma file clearly...
Oh yeah, it sure did.
Then the knife...
was just another piece of camouflage. They probably stabbed her to draw it. Exploding the body afterward was probably... The explosion severely damaged the body. It was all the killer's attempt to...
So they wanted us to notice the stab wound, and they meant for us to latch onto the knife as the cause of death.
Oh, hey, I have a question. What's the deal with that explosion anyway?
If you bothered to put that lump of gray matter...
Well, if you're so
I'll tell you. I bet.
I might be dumb.
Go ahead, Makoto.
I got it! After the explosion, that fragment reveals...
Huh?
That's only natural. We saw the same thing when it's part of a bomb.
Oh!
Anyway, the culprit's motive... They wanted the knife wound to look like the fatal injury, and the only one is the only other...
Hold on a second.
What's the problem?
Well, I just feel like...
That's true. It's definitely...
Fine. I have no problem. It won't change the fact... Then shall we continue the victim's fatal injury has yet to be
The explosion didn't kill her for sure.
well,
Yeah.
she was already
And it wasn't because of the knife. Then there's a...
Oh yeah. That's gotta be it.
There was evidence that showed
She was hit
hit on the back of her.
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire body. Then shall we continue the victim's fatal injury had...
The explosion didn't kill her for sure.
Well, yeah.
She was...
And it wasn't because... Then there's a...
Oh yeah. That's gotta be it. There was evidence that showed she was hit on the back of her head.
Shoot!
Then shall we continue the victim's fatal
The explosion didn't kill...
Well, yeah.
And it wasn't... Then there's only...
Oh yeah.
That's gotta be it. There was evidence that showed she was hit
Hit on...
And more than that, the victim had suffered countless wounds across her entire... Then shall we continue the victim's fatal...
injury has yet to be
No, that's wrong. Mukuro died because of the blow to the back of...
What about the wounds all over the rest of her
The Monokuma file makes it clear...
Oh yeah, good point. If they were old...
Okay, then we're safe in a...
But then...
The Monokuma file says she was hit with a...
Oh! I bet it was...
How is that even possible?
Well, Well, maybe they held it the other way and...
No way! The balance would be. I wouldn't mind testing it on.
No thanks. I bet you just hit me with a metal...
I'd love to scoop out that nasty brain.
I feel this...
Seriously?
We want to figure out what killed her, right?
We already know.
So what was it?
Go ahead and tell them, Makoto.
Shoot! I got it! Mukuro was hit in the back of the head with something. And that something was the titanium arrow we...
An arrow?
Indeed.
Are you sure?
Hey! How dare you?
I'm not back-talking anything.
The titanium arrow.
It was in the dojo.
I have no doubt that was the murder weapon.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced.
Well, because in the Monokuma file, it said the weapon must have been about as thick as a metal pipe. It seems like an arrow would just be too thin.
Talking back to Master, you have no right!
The titanium arrow.
It was in the dojo. I have no doubt.
Are you sure?
You don't sound convinced.
Well, because it said the weapon must have been about...
It seems like an arrow would just be...
No, that's wrong! You're right. Just the one arrow would have been...
Another weapon?
Inside the dojo locker, we also found a balled-up wad of duct... The killer probably used this duct tape to bundling them together using the duct tape would easily create a... And that's exact...
It's similar to Aesop's fable about the bundle of one stick is weak, but put them together.
Damn, that's hard.
How is it harsh?
Anyway, as for who the culprit is, that it was...
I've never been to the dojo.
Oh no. You...
How can you say that with such...
Because we have proof, of course.
Oh.
What? Surely you don't intend. You know what will happen if you cover for the culprit, the death of us all.
Of course I...
Then show us. Show every...
I got it! The one thing that... right here. The
And how does that prove anything?
Because...
It was... in my room?
Don't bother trying to play dumb. That key is just your non-existent alibi, your clear motive. This all proves that you—
Hold on.
Not this again.
No, there's one more thing I need. Kyoko. Last night. Why? That's what I need to know.
I was just.
What?
That's enough. The time for
Wait, I'm warning you. Don't.
I knew you were stubborn, but this is just getting ridiculous.
Really? But you should know better than anyone I didn't do it. Can you tell me I'm.
I should. Those words you just spoke. What do you mean?
Exactly what I said. I'm not the killer. You should understand that more than anyone here.
Byakuya, what are you
Master would never hide something from me!
There's proof that you aren't the culprit. Is that what you're saying?
You stated a theory earlier. You said I hid the evidence of my crime in the dojo locker, and then left the locker key in my own room. Correct? But could I really have done that?
Those words you just.
Exactly what I'm not, but you should understand.
Byakuya.
Master would never.
There's proof that you aren't the culprit.
Is that what you're saying?
You stated a
Theory earlier.
You said I hid the evidence of my crime and then left the locker key
In my own room, but could I really have done that?
Those words you just spoke.
Exactly what I'm not, but you should understand.
Byakuya?
Master would never hide something.
There's
Proof that you aren't the culprit.
No, that's wrong. If I'm right, Kyoko wouldn't have been able to get because she had given her room key to Byakuya.
I see. And if I had the key to your room,
Then obviously, without my room key, Am I wrong?
it would appear not.
Then you're finally starting to understand.
Well, have you decided to accept her assertion? I see. I suppose we have to admit that Kyoko didn't put the lock.
But who else could it have been?
I mean,
You!
But of course, I have an alibi. From nighttime on, I couldn't possibly have killed anyone.
well, someone had to put the.
There's only one other someone could have had the key on them. Then once they arrived at the scene,
What?
I don't see any other.
Wait a second. Let's think about it one more time.
Huh?
First of all, there's something off. Mukuro, who we didn't even know existed, and Kyoko even said, it's a trap the mastermind set for us. So that's why. This has to be.
Okay, time's up!
Huh?
Time's up! Class trial's all over! Everyone can stop talking now!
What?
What do you mean time's up? There's no time's up.
It's because you were late. So then, it's time for voting time, okay? Everyone, please vote using the lever in front of you!
Voting time?
Now, who will be chosen?
Hey, hold on!
What's it gonna be? What?
Sorry.
Yes, indeed. Yep. Hey! Shing! Thrills! Chills!
I don't expect you to forgive me.
Let's give it up! What?
This is.
It would seem.
What the heck?
In other words,
Yaha!
calm down.
Huh?
In other words,
What did you.
so